I never realized that medieval banquets held deadly secrets of betrayal and poison. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The grand hall buzzed with laughter, clinking goblets, and the musky scent of roasted meats. Tapestries hung, their colors vibrant yet overshadowed by the gloom lurking just beneath the festive surface. I stood at the edge of the revelry, heart racing, my eyes darting from one face to another. The laughter felt hollow. I couldn't shake the feeling that danger coiled like an unseen serpent in the shadows. Everyone was feasting, the king, the nobles, the commoners gathered for this extraordinary feast. Yet, I had learned too much. My hands trembled as I remembered the whispers I'd overheard in the dimly lit corners. Betrayal. Poison. Death. I had once believed these were mere tales, spun to frighten children. But then I saw the fear in my mother's eyes when she caught me eavesdropping. "Stay away from the dark places, my child," she had said, her voice trembling against the brilliance of the banquet's joy. I could still hear her warning echoing in my ears. As I moved closer, I caught sight of the king, his large frame adorned with gold and crimson, his smile a mask of delight. His infamous jester danced nearby, a wild spirit wrapped in vibrant colors, drawing laughter as he spun and pranced. They didn't know. They had no idea how treacherous the night could turn. Suddenly, a shout pierced the air. A distant crash echoed, and all laughter stopped. My heart thudded loudly in my chest. I turned to see a nobleman crumbling to the floor, gasping for breath. The once lively room fell into an oppressive silence. The rich scent of food turned sour, mixing with the rising fear. Was it poison? The very thought sent shivers down my spine. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, eyes wide with fear and suspicion. The king's smile faltered. I stepped back, pressing my back against the cool stone wall, feeling every heartbeat pound in my ears. The tension felt thick, like smog, choking the air we breathed. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But I was frozen, caught in the web of secrets. In that moment, a cloak of uncertainty wrapped around me as I wondered who among us could be a murderer tonight. The laughter, the cheers, the joy all swirling like a tempest of lies. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The echo of the nobleman's fall sent a rippling chill through the crowd, faces turning paler than the candlelight illuminating the hall. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the figure sprawled on the floor, his hand clutching his throat as if attempting to grasp for a breath that wouldn't come. Panic began to seep into the atmosphere, a suffocating fog that threatened to cloud my mind. As whispers morphed into frantic shouts, I spotted my mother weaving through the throngs of frightened guests. She moved with a grace and urgency that belied her age. Her eyes met mine, filled with a mix of fear and determination. I wanted to run to her, to be enveloped by her presence, but my feet felt cemented to the ground. "Get away," she called, reaching out as if to shield me from the horror unfolding. My heart sank. Was she too late? The very air felt charged with unexpected malice. I turned to look for the king, half expecting him to restore order, to quell the chaos with his mere presence. But the throne that had once radiated power now felt like a cage, the king frozen in reluctant realization of the threat looming over him. The loud crack of wood breaking filled the air, and I glanced back just in time to see one of the banquet tables topple, goblets and plates spilling across the floor in disarray. A flurry of movement erupted as frightened nobles rushed to create a barrier between themselves and the chaos. "Listen to me." A commanding voice boomed through the din. It was the royal advisor, a man known as Lysander, his face ashen but resolute. "We must remain calm. This is no time for fear to divide us. We must find the source of this calamity. His words hung in the air, a feeble attempt at grasping control from the encroaching darkness. I felt an unexpected flicker of hope at his authority, a small promise that perhaps we could unravel whatever lay concealed in the depths of that fateful banquet. Yet, even as the flicker burned brighter, a thought haunted me: could Lysander be the one manipulating puppet strings behind the facade? Suddenly, amid the chaos, a flame ignited within me. I could not remain a mere observer in this tapestry of treachery. I had to uncover the truth, to unearth the secrets hidden in the grotesque shadows of the hall. Steeling my resolve, I began to weave my way through the throngs of nobles and servants, each whisper and glance weighed down by suspicion. "Stay close, my child." My mother's voice called again, but I couldn't be tethered. I needed to know. I sidled up to the nearby kitchen doors, which swung open with a heavy creak. A wave of heat, fragrant yet tainted with residual fear, washed over me. I pressed my ear against the door, listening as frantic voices traded rumors and accusations, magnifying doubts and sealing fates. Suddenly, a figure slipped through the back entrance, a servant girl, her face streaked with grime, eyes wide and panicked. She paused to catch her breath, holding something tightly in her hand. I pressed closer, fear dancing in my chest. She glanced around, seemingly aware of unseen eyes, then hurried away, her form lost to the shadows. "Wait!" I called after her instinctively, pushing myself through the threshold before I could wholly process my own desperation. The hallway stretched darkly before me, illuminated by flickering torches. I chased her, dread and urgency propelling my feet forward. As I turned a corner, I skidded to a halt. There she was, leaning heavily against the wall, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Please," she gasped between sobs. "They didn't mean for it to happen. It was an accident." "What do you mean?" I blurted, my heart racing at the implication of her words. "Who are they?" Before she could respond, the floorboards creaked ominously behind us. I spun around, bracing myself to confront whatever menace prowled in the dark when a figure emerged, cloaked in shadows, their intentions unreadable. "Who has come to listen to the whispers of the banquet?" they taunted, casting a net of uncertainty that ensnared both the servant girl and me. In that moment, I instinctively moved in front of her, my heart thunderous in my chest. This wasn't merely a banquet anymore, it was the epicenter of a storm brewing with betrayal and hidden sorrows. My resolve began to ebb, for I knew we were no longer just witnesses, we were at the heart of a deadly game. And as the figures stepped fully into the light, their identity poised to shred the fragile fabric of trust, I felt panic constrict my throat. And that fleeting heartbeat, I realized the truth. The secrets of the banquet didn't just involve betrayal. They entangled my own family, my life, and it was all spiraling into unspeakable danger. The flickering torches cast erratic shadows across the figure's face, revealing a visage I never expected to see again, a face that once brought comfort amid chaos, now tainted with unrecognizable intent. It was my childhood friend, Alaric, now cloaked in darkness and danger. His once gentle demeanor had twisted into something menacing, the corners of his mouth tugged into a smirk that felt foreign to me. "Alaric? What are you doing here?" I stammered, the tremor in my voice betraying the whirlwind of emotions I grappled to contain. Memories of our shared laughter and playful vows of friendship hung teasingly in the air, now overshadowed by a heaviness that threatened to crush me. That he stepped forward, the smooth movements of a predator stalking its prey, yet his eyes bore a flicker of something almost unrecognizable: sadness. "Regret? You've come so far, haven't you?" he said, his voice low yet melodic, as though he reveled in the comfort of a dangerous secret. "But you've stumbled into a dance you don't yet understand." The servant girl whimpered softly behind me, pressing her back against the wall as if seeking refuge. "You don't have to do this, Alaric," I pleaded, sensing the urgency of our predicament. "You were once fiercely loyal. Memories of our childhood, can't those return?" At the mention of our past, a flicker of warmth danced across his face, quickly extinguished by the weight of the present. "Nostalgia does strange things to the heart," he replied, the chill creeping back as he crossed his arms over his chest. But this is beyond memories. You don't understand the depth of betrayal that has run through these walls. Betrayal? I echoed, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet as the full weight of his words settled into my bones. What have you gotten mixed up in? The nobleman, did you know this would happen? More than you can imagine. But it wasn't he supposed to be like this. His brow furrowed momentarily, casting a fleeting shadow of doubt over his icy exterior. It spun out of control, the rivalry, the ambition, the poison in the hearts of those who aspired to rule. I felt ice creep into my veins at his admission. The very air between us thickened with unspoken accusations, a tension that seemed to pulse with every beat of my scared heart. My desire for clarity overwhelmed my instinct to protect myself and the trembling girl behind me. Then help us. Help us understand. There must be a way to stop this. He shook his head slowly, an ocean's worth of sorrow bubbling behind his eyes. It's too late for understanding, Amara. Allies have turned, loyalties have ignited like wildfires in this feast of betrayal. And the king, his voice dipped to a whisper, tainted with resentment, the king knows of this too. Panic clawed at my insides. I had thought I could discern truth in the chaos, but Alaric's words wove a web of uncertainty that ensnared my senses. We have to warn them. I insisted, though my voice trembled. We can't let more innocent lives be taken. If only it were that simple. The bitterness dripped off his words like venom. What if the innocent are not as innocent as they seem? What if your mother is entangled in this web? What if she is not merely a victim, but has played her part in this treachery? I recoiled as if struck. My mother? The very idea shattered the shield of loyalty I had wrapped around my heart. You're lying. I shot back, desperation tightening my throat. But a flicker of doubt danced on the fringes of my mind, whispering treacherous possibilities. No more lies, he said, voice slashing through the tension. There are truths buried deep within these walls, Amara. A blood-pact your family has colluded with forces that should never be awakened. Just as he spoke the damning words, a distant crash reverberated through the hall, pulling my focus and seeping dread into my bones. The banquet had morphed into a battleground where alliances were shattered, screams erupted, and the echoes of tragedy danced mockingly. Now, Alaric's eyes glinted with challenge, choose your next steps wisely. Either follow me into the shadows and seek the truth, or remain here and let your ignorance extinguish the last flicker of hope you hold. I felt an excruciating twist in my chest, torn between the raw promise of the unknown and the fragile tether of my former life. The realization settled heavily. I was at the precipice of a fate I hadn't chosen, caught in a storm where every decision braided into another, leading deeper into the throes of chaos that I in that moment. Another sound splintered through the air, a scream from the banquet hall, piercing and palpable. And just like that, my heart plummeted. My mother's face leaped into my mind, her eyes full of determination as she fought to protect me. Was she amongst the chaos? Had her secrets finally led her to the abyss? Alaric, I hesitated, the weight of the ultimatum stinging my tongue. But then, the sheer urgency of the moment propelled me forward. I'm coming with you. Show me the way. And as I swallowed my fear, a chilling revelation gripped my heart, foretelling the depths of darkness yet to come, as I stepped into the shadows and the truth spiraled further beyond my grasp. The passage into the darkness felt like stepping through a veil separating two worlds, one filled with familiar laughter, feasting, and the innocence of youth, and the other entrapping me within its swirling mists of deceit and danger. Alaric led the way, his form moving confidently through the shadows while I pressed close to the trembling servant girl, her wide eyes reflecting fear that mirrored my own. Where are you taking us? I whispered, my throat tight with concern as we navigated the tight corridors that hugged the castle's stone foundation. To the old archives, he replied, glancing back briefly. There lies the history of this family's sins, hidden truths that this very castle has tried to bury. Upon reaching a heavy wooden door, Alaric pushed it open, revealing a dimly lit room that smelled of dust and ancient roots. Rows of tomes lined the walls, their spines cracked, each holding relics of past lives and long-forgotten betrayals. I felt as if I were stepping into a tomb of secrets long suffocated to preserve the facade of nobility. Alaric lit a small oil lamp, and the flickering flame cast an eerie glow over his chiseled features, highlighting the remnants of his former self. "Help me find the scrolls that recount the blood pact," he instructed, his demeanor suddenly sharp and urgent. "We need proof of what lies beneath the surface." As I scanned the titles, a cacophony of thoughts swirled in my mind: fear for my mother, confusion about Alaric's transformation, and the ominous shadows lurking just outside the boundaries of our small sanctuary. I reached for a heavy tome, an elaborate gilded cover catching my eye. It depicted a crest entwined with thorns and roses, a grotesque beauty that felt like a fitting emblem for the kingdom that I opened it, pages crackling softly under my fingers, but the words felt jumbled in my rapidly racing mind. "What if we find something we wish we hadn't?" I murmured, glancing at Alaric, my heart heavy with the weight of possibility. His gaze flickered briefly with uncharacteristic vulnerability. "Truth often carries burdens too. But it also offers clarity. It's the veil of ignorance that's far more dangerous." Suddenly, a loud crashing sound erupted from beyond the archives, followed by hurried footsteps. Fear surged anew, dark and heavy, twisting around us like vines. "Someone's coming," I whispered urgently. Alaric's eyes widened, and we instinctively stepped into the far corner of the room, hoping to blend into the shadows. The door swung open a moment later, revealing a figure cloaked in black, face obscured by a hood. My heart stuttered in my chest as I recognized the sword hilt glinting at their side. It belonged to one of the king's guards, though their motives felt as murky as the shadows concealing us. "Search the archives." The guard commanded a second figure who lingered just outside, a wary nod accompanying their movement. "The Lord's son must be taken alive. We need to find the traitor." My pulse thundered in my ears as panic coursed through me. It was one thing to chase whispers of betrayal in a world built on lies, it was another to face the harsh truth that I was now targeted in a game far greater than I could comprehend. I leaned into Alaric, who remained still, calculating the odds. The guard rummaged through the room, casting glances around as if searching for breathing ghosts hiding in the shadows. I could hardly breathe, praying silently that neither Alaric nor I would be discovered in our quiet horror. "Nothing here." The guard growled, his frustration palpable. "We search the next room. Seal off the exits." As they stepped out, Alaric seized the moment, his voice barely a whisper. "We have to move now." He led me deeper into the archives, a sense of urgency propelling us forward, minds racing at what we might discover and what lay in our wake. That we hurried past reams of parchment and shelves burdened with history before reaching a narrow stairwell spiraling downward. The air grew cooler, weighed down by the remnants of ages past. "What if they find us?" I dared to utter, aware of the stakes that danced around us. "They will," Alaric admitted grimly, the ghost of a smile tugging his lips, both dark and relieved. "But we may uncover something that will turn the tides in our favor. I can't promise safety, but I can promise I won't let you face this alone." As we descended, soaked in the uncertainty of our fate, a sudden tug of warmth blossomed within me, a tiny ember igniting against fear's relentless chill. And in that fleeting moment, I realized Alaric still held pieces of himself, fragments that whispered of unyielding friendship amidst the consuming shadows, but just as I felt my heart begin to tether to glimmers of hope, it crashed back to reality as we reached the last step. The air turned electric as an unexpected sound broke through the darkness. A haunting melody echoed from the depths below, one so eerily familiar to me that it made my blood run cold. The soft strains of my mother's voice floated through, accompanied by a soft hiss that whispered secrets long guarded. My breath caught between disbelief and dread. "Wait," I urged Alaric, dread pooling in my gut. "That song, my mother sings it." When a sudden realization gripped me. It was the same melody she once used to lull me to sleep, a song that spoke of old oaths and lost promises. Without a second thought, I stepped forward, driven by instinct and fear. "Amara, wait!" Alaric called after me, but I could no longer hear his words, drowned out by the urgency in my chest. The hall swelled with anticipation, whatever lay beyond held the power to change everything. As I approached the source of the melody, I pushed aside a tattered curtain, breached the threshold into an expansive chamber, and froze. My heart plummeted at the sight before me, a circle of figures, cloaked in darkness, faces obscured, but one figure stood at the center, my mother, her features lined with an unrecognizable intensity. That it was true, the truth danced dangerously near, and I stood revealed in a world where loyalty had become treachery and the echoes of the past threatened to consume the light of hope. I had dared to seek the truth, but had I prepared for the cost? Mother? I breathed, the whisper escaping my lips, laden with the weight of everything I had yet to understand. The melody faltered, and she turned to me, eyes aflame with something I had never seen before. The haunting melody faded into a breathless hush that enveloped the chamber. My mother stood at the center, her figure poised but burdened, eyes wide with a mixture of alarm and something deeper, something almost like despair. The cloaked figures slowly turned their attention towards me, shadows swallowing their faces, revealing only the cold gleam of watchful eyes. Amara, my mother spoke, her voice steady but layered with tension, as if every syllable churned with unuttered secrets. You shouldn't have come here. What is this? I demanded, trying to decode the rapid flutter of emotions surging through me. Why are you here? What is happening? Alaric's presence loomed just behind me, a protective shadow that dared to breach the strange barrier between my mother and me. He whispered, "Stay behind me," but I felt the pull of familial ties drawing me closer. Then the silence shattered as one of the cloaked figures stepped forward. Do you know what you have stumbled into, girl? Their voice was a child of night, smooth and laced with malice. The past does not rest, it waits. And it demands payment. Payment? I echoed, turning my gaze from the unknown figure to my mother. What does that mean? What payment does this gathering require? No. You must leave, my mother insisted, her fierce expression crumbling under an equally fierce urgency. This is not your fight. But I want to understand. I protested. I've come this far, the shadows can't have me turning back now. I deserve to know the truth. The truth? The figure sneered, and I saw a hand clench around a ceremonial dagger adorned with twisted thorns, mirroring the emblem I had seen on the tome. Do you truly wish to unveil what has been buried? What you now seek bears a weight that promises only ruin. Suddenly, the world tilted, a momentary slipping away of the ground beneath me. I dared to glance at Alaric, he mirrored my fear, determination dawning in his eyes. We're already here, he pressed, stepping beside me. What binds the past to the present holds power. If this is something that can save your mother, we need to know. At his words, a flicker of resolve took root within me. The fears that had once imprisoned me began to dissolve, replaced by a surge of courage. I have to know what brought you here, mother, I said, steadying my voice. Remember, Amara, she said, her gaze piercing through the haze of the gathering shadows, sometimes the truth you seek is more terrifying than the lies you've been told. It is steeped in blood, it carries a weight far beyond your comprehension. Is that why you're with them? I gestured towards the cloaked figures, anguish threading through my chest. Are you part of this? In a way, yes. But it is more complicated than that, she replied, sorrow heavy within her voice like a leaden blanket folded on the air between us. To survive the storms of loyalty and betrayal, one must sometimes walk among them. I did what I had to what I thought was right. A swing of emotions crashed against me, each fierce wave threatening to overwhelm. But as I stood rooted to my spot, I felt the ground beneath my feet shift again, a sense of impending dread mingled with an ever-growing determination. I needed answers, I needed clarity. With a newfound audacity, I took a step forward, crossing the invisible threshold that separated us. The cloaked figures shifted, their breathing now palpable, their eyes settling on me with an unsettling curiosity. What is the payment? I demanded, meeting my mother's gaze as though it could anchor me in this unexpected storm. The figure with the dagger stepped forward, its leather boots echoing ominously against the cold stone floor. "The past has its dues, child, and perhaps it is you who shall pay its toll," it hissed softly, moving dangerously close. "No," I yelled, desperation bleeding into my words. "I will not become like you, tethered to shadows. You cannot sacrifice me to this fate." My heart raced as I thought of escape, but I refused to be cowed. "There is no sacrifice without purpose," my mother said, her eyes reflecting a vulnerability that shattered my heart and distanced me from the suffocating grip of apprehension. "I did not choose this path for you, Amara, I wish to protect you." "You think hiding the truth protects me?" I felt fury pulse through my veins, igniting a flame I hadn't known was there. "You are all deceived. The truth is a weapon, and you've wielded it against yourselves." With my blood thundering in my ears, I turned back towards the cloaked figure and took another step forward. "Tell me," I demanded, voice trembling with power and trepidation. "What is it that I must do?" A strange smile twisted the figure's lips, dark and inviting. "To know the truth is to embrace the storm that follows. Only then can you understand what the blood pact requires of you." In that moment, as my heart hung suspended between defiance and dread, a sudden crash echoed through the chamber. For a fleeting instant, I felt the barriers of the past give way as the shadows whispered ancestral secrets, a binding force between me and my mother fracturing violently, and then, as I turned back, I saw Alaric clutching his side, a glimmer of betrayal in his eyes, a twist of the fate I had not anticipated. The room exploded in chaos as cloaked figures surged forward, and understanding surged through me like venom. The cost of truth might just demand more than I was willing to give. The dust from the chaotic scene settled lightly in the still air, forming ghostly swirls around us as I struggled to process the onslaught of emotions and revelations. Alaric leaned heavily against the cold stone wall, his eyes betraying a pain sharper than any blade, the look of someone who had borne witness to far too much and yet felt the crushing weight of unspoken truths. "Alaric!" I called, rushing to his side, the break in his confidence tugging at my heart. It felt as if the foundations of everything I believed were crumbling around me. How could I focus on the sinister gathering when the person I thought I trusted was hurt, possibly more than I realized? His breath came in ragged gasps as he straightened, attempting to hide the wound he bore. "I'm fine," he lied, his voice strained. But I could see the sheen of sweat glistening on his brow, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the bond we'd formed had just split under the pressure of something greater. "No, you're not fine," I responded, resting my hand against his arm, desperate to ease the severity of his pain. Just a touch of reassurance, yet all it seemed to do was amplify the tension between us, igniting emotions I had scarcely begun to understand. "What happened?" "I underestimated them," he admitted, pain etched in his features as if even his very words pained him to say. "I only meant to protect you." In the midst of this chaos, my heart was torn. I wanted to tell him that I'd rather bear the pain myself than watch him suffer, but reality warned me that both of us were tangled in a web far more complex than either of us could foresee. A sudden outcry from the cloaked figure startled me, shoving back against the tendrils of intimacy blooming painfully between us. "She seeks the truth. She knows not what awaits her." One of them shrieked, harboring a blend of fear and reverence for the sincerity behind my defiance. I turned back toward my mother, who was still an island of anguish amidst the storm of figures swirling around me. "What do I have to do, mother?" I begged her, anxiety suffocating my breath. "What is this blood pact? Why does it demand so much from me?" "Amara," she replied, her voice dropping to a mere whisper that seemed barely capable of cutting through the tension. "In your search for the truth, be careful not to lose yourself. You may uncover secrets that could shatter everything you hold dear." "I'd rather shatter my world than live in shadows," I responded with an intensity that surprised even myself. "But if I cannot bear it, then I will fight against it. I swear I will." As I spoke, I could feel the shadows at the edge of my consciousness, a faint, echoing melody that beckoned and taunted in equal measure. The figures morphed around us, their energies shifting like live wires in the dark, pulsing, awaiting something, my decision perhaps. Suddenly, the figure with the dagger stepped forward once again, their eyes flickering with an inscrutable light. Do you dare break the cycle? To pierce the veil of acceptance that has long kept your bloodline in chains? It intoned ominously, the dagger poised, glistening dangerously under the dim light. Yes, I declared, my heart echoing the drums of rebellion that surged through me. But just as I resolved to confront the darkness, an unexpected flicker of doubt surged through me. Had I fully grasped the weight of my resolve? Could I truly navigate the treacherous waters I had plunged into? My gaze met Alaric's, and the connection felt simultaneously powerful and perilous. You will be strong enough, he breathed, though doubts etched lines on his face. Perhaps it was my resolve that kept us a step away from despair, but what would that resolve demand from us both? Each choice made tonight forges anew, the cloaked figure continued, its voice a chilling whisper. Embrace your lineage, and you shall understand. Yet beware, for to claim what is yours could lead to the unraveling of all that you love. I felt the weight of the decision crash against me, leaving ripples within the depths of my heart. And then, as realization dawned, dread coiled around my chest, a chilling revelation. If this truth lies in blood, does that mean I'm connected to this darkness? The figure's smile widened. Those like you carry destinies steeped in the choices of the deceased. You are bound to seek, Amara. The question is, at what cost? Before I could vocalize, the rising fear lodged in my throat, something within the chamber cracked. The air trembled, and the shadows surged forth, dragging me into a whirlpool of uncertainty. More figures slipped from the darkness, shapes now weaving together the past with the present, speaking a language I could barely articulate but felt all too well. Time's fabric twisted as revelations collided, the truth I had long sought now looming dangerously close. And in that moment of cosmic imbalance, I realized the shadows of my family's history were tangling with my fate like threads on a loom, weaving together betrayal, loyalty, and truths that chilled me to my core, and I was about to learn just how viciously the past demanded payment. In its cacophony, I heard Alaric call my name, confusion merging with despair. But even as I turned towards his voice, the floor beneath me shifted again, and the world spiraled into a haunting chaos that threatened to consume everything. Amara. The urgency echoed, but as it slipped further away, the veil around me thickened, almost blinding. Darkness surged forward, promising truths beyond my reckoning, and an unexpected toll that shattered the thin veil of hope I barely clung to, and with that, the truth I had longed for slipped beyond my grasp, plummeting into the abyss of an uncertain tomorrow. The chamber of shadows pulsed with a stifling energy, swallowing my fears and desires alike. I staggered back, a disoriented breath escaping my lips, my pulse echoing like war drums in my ears. The figure's presence loomed larger, a dark silhouette against a backdrop of swirling memories, each moment weighted with secrets echoing through the ages. I fought against the rising tide of dread that threatened to overtake me, willing myself to stand firm. Amara, look at me. Alaric's voice broke through the chaos, a tether binding me to clarity. I turned, his expression radiating both concern and something deeper, an unspoken bond that hinted at a shared history of trials yet unvoiced. The shadows seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat, insistent and demanding, as they spun tales of betrayal from a time long past. Stay close, I whispered, as much to myself as to him. As I spoke, I could feel the air thickening with uncertainty, taunting us with the promise of kinship amidst impending doom. What do they want from us? Alaric murmured, his brow furrowed as he sidled closer, creating a barrier against the growing malevolence surrounding us. You need to trust your instincts, Amara. A fragile flicker ignited in my chest, the embers of my resolve fighting against the suffocating shadow. There must be a way through this, a way to confront the truth rather than surrender to it. Before I could consider my next move, the figure with the dagger stepped forward, its gloved hand extended as if offering something. The blade gleamed with a promise of revelation or destruction, I could not tell. Accept your legacy, it said, its voice an ethereal whisper that flowed like smoke. The blood of your ancestors craves acknowledgement. Pain demands honesty. I narrowed my eyes, my heart racing at the implied threat. What truth will it reveal? I challenged, daring to step forward into the realm of the unknown. And am I to wear the mantle of every mistake they made? Only the strong draw their power from the past, it replied cryptically, the shadows around it thickening as if in agreement. Identify the heart of betrayal, and you will unlock your own. Amongst the swirling darkness, the words resonated, pushing me further into the fray. Betrayal? Shadows of events I had barely begun to unravel danced in the corner of my mind, flickers of old whispers coming alive, the voices of the ancestors claiming their dues. As my breath quickened, another memory emerged, a banquet from my childhood, bright laughter echoing through golden halls, yet shadowed by the weight of hidden daggers. Faces flashed before me, some familiar, others hauntingly distant. Whispers of betrayal hung like an uninvited guest, the recollections tinged with a sick feeling that perhaps my family's reputation had deeper, darker roots than I understood. Glimmers of light intruded upon the shadows, spilling from the flashbacks, urging me to recall the laughter and the tension that lay veiled beneath festive gaiety. A vision crystallized before me, a delicate glass filled with wine, sparkling in the candlelight, handed to my father by a figure cloaked in shadows. The memory felt layered, rich with spices, laughter, treachery. Amara? Alaric's voice broke through my reverie, his hands found mine, grounding me once more. There was a cadence in his touch, a warmth that choked back the frost of fear echoing within the chamber, but as he looked into my eyes, I could see the crack of worry. He sensed the shift, the darkness that was beginning to seep into my resolve. Don't you feel it? The pulse of history woven in your blood is demanding, calling to be freed. There's more to this banquet than I realized, I whispered, that visceral connection with the past igniting a flame of determination. I can feel the weight of my lineage. If I face this, maybe what? He pressed, brows knitting as he drew me back to his gaze, a fortress against the looming threats. I took a shuddering breath, the decision solidifying within me. Maybe it's time I took control of this legacy, turned the tide against whatever darkness it holds. There was a sudden flicker in Alaric's expression, a glint of hope mingled with fear. And if you find what you're looking for is something you're not prepared to face? I have to know, Alaric. The truth carries a weight, but I won't let it bury me alive, I declared, my voice sharper now, laced with purpose. As he nodded, his grip tightened around my hand, yet a new feeling sparked between us, an unexpected bond weaving tighter, lacing our hearts together in this daunting venture. However, before I could decipher the depth of that connection, a piercing scream sliced through the chamber, a cry of betrayal echoed amongst the shadows, forcing us to confront the reality I had been tiptoeing around. The sins of the past had not simply lingered, they were alive, waiting to extinguish any flame of hope we might carry into a future soaked with shadows. Amara, we need to get out of here, Alaric urged, the urgency palpable in his tone. But before we could retreat, a tremor rippled through the chamber, and the cloaked figures began to spin their dance around us, their eyes flashing with a predatory hunger. The darkness surged, twisting the fabric of reality as they whispered in unison, the banquet awaits. Will you embrace your heritage, or will the past consume you? As if summoned by the weight of their question, a single stone slab shifted beneath our feet, revealing new pathways ahead, light and darkness entwined in a macabre invitation. With our choices looming ahead and the shadows enveloping us, I felt the heart of the darkness beating in sync with my own, drawing closer to the choices that would forever alter the course of our fate. Alaric, are you ready? I asked, my voice barely a whisper but filled with a sudden inflection of courage. He nodded, a determination replacing the fear in his gaze. But as the shadows receded, revealing the labyrinthine paths before us, I sensed the lingering question behind his eyes. What else would I uncover? What darkness might accompany the understanding of my bloodline? The answer lay beyond the threshold we were about to step through, and with one last breath shared, we pushed forward into the unknown, the lingering memories of the banquet casting an ominous shadow over our every step. The corridor unfolded around us, walls draped with tapestries that depicted scenes of feasting and revelry, yet they exuded a chill that sent shivers down my spine. An almost tangible sense of foreboding accompanied each step. Alaric stayed close beside me, our joined hands a slender thread of warmth in the encroaching darkness. The air was thick, heavy with an unnameable tension that coiled around us like a serpent waiting to strike. "Do you think they're watching us?" Alaric whispered, glancing over his shoulder, his mind racing with the echoes of our earlier confrontation. I considered his question, realizing the atmosphere was layered with more than just shadows. It pulsed with the memories of all who had once walked these halls. "I can feel them," I admitted, forcing my voice to remain steady, but the tremor in my heart betrayed me. "The past is alive here." Each step echoed louder than the last, a reminder of the gravity of our choices. The possibilities loomed ahead as we turned a corner, revealing a smaller chamber. Its low ceiling and heavy stone walls seemed to close in around us, a contrast to the expansive festivity of my memory. The banquet where my father had unwittingly danced with treachery. That I in the center of the room stood a single table, adorned with remnants of a feast long gone. The scent of spices lingered in the air, though there was also an undercurrent of something bitter, a hint of betrayal that was difficult to place. My heart raced as I approached the table, the flickering light of candles casting long shadows, each one a reminder of what might have transpired in this very room. "Amara," Alaric called softly, his voice a careful brush against my thoughts, "what are you hoping to find?" With a cautious reverence, I placed my hands on the table's edge, tracing the intricate carvings. "I don't know yet. But these remnants, it's as if they're asking for acknowledgement. Or warning us," he countered gently. His pulse quickened, nerves poured into the space between us like a gentle tide, filling what words could not express. "Maybe both," I replied, my eyes searching for answers. "What if we could change the course of the past?" Just then, the atmosphere shifted. A gust of chilled air swept through the chamber, flickering the candles and momentarily extinguishing their light, plunging us into darkness. I felt Alaric's hand tighten around mine, our connection a solitary beacon in the haze of night. "Do you feel that?" I whispered, my voice quivering, as the shadows coalesced around us, forming shapes that shook off the weight of history. I thought I glimpsed a figure, ephemeral and clad in dark robes, a reflection of the past calling out for its secrets to be revealed. "Amara, we need to go," Alaric urged again, his voice carrying an underlying plea as we stood at the crossroads of discovery and danger, but my feet were rooted to the floor, drawn toward the ghostly figure. In the midst of my fear, a spark of understanding ignited within me. This was not solely about discovering my lineage, it was a reckoning with the choices made long before I had entered the fray. "Show me," I demanded, finally voicing the chaos that trembled within, forcing myself to take a step forward, no longer an observer but a participant. "Show me the truth behind the banquet." The figure shimmered, its edges blurring as if caught between worlds, and I was suddenly engulfed in visions, shadows flitting amidst laughter, poison bubbling in jeweled goblets, faces twisting in betrayal as they turned against one another. I could almost hear the echo of suppressed laughter mingling with howls of despair. Alaric's grip faltered, fragmented uncertainty glinting in his eyes. "We need to be careful." Before he could finish, the room cascaded into light. I gasped, the vividness almost overwhelming, an electrifying exchange of energies that swirled around me, feeding off my very essence. Yet as quickly as it manifested, the light began to dim, fading like the remnants of a dream before morning sun. Panic surged in Alaric's eyes as he grasped my arms, trying to pull me away. "Amara, please. You can't linger here." The shadows, but something inside me cracked open, and I steadied myself against the table, trying to sort through the whirlwind of images and voices demanding my attention, threads hauntingly familiar woven from the fold of my past. "Alaric, I need to understand." At that moment, the figure resonated closer, its voice beckoning in an eerie harmony, "To break the cycle, you must embrace what you fear." And in that instant, a realization dawned. This wasn't merely about my ancestors, it was about the decisions they had made that had echoed through time, choices that had burdened me with their consequences. The banquet had been a masquerade of deception, yet perhaps it was also a place to reclaim power, to rewrite a narrative that had imprisoned my lineage for generations. Amara. Alaric grasped my shoulders, grounding me, his tumultuous emotions swirling beneath surface calm. "The shadows are angry. We need to leave," or suddenly, the floor beneath us trembled, a rumbling cascade that threatened to swallow the room whole. The walls convulsed, and a great fissure opened, revealing the depths of darkness below. As the walls began to crumble, I felt a rush of desperation igniting in my chest. Wait! I can't leave like this. There's too much I need to know. Trust me. He shouted over the cacophony, suit of fear clinging to him as he yanked me back, but my heart surged with an insistent urgency. Alaric, please. There's a chance to unearth something. A piercing scream echoed from the depths, stark and unyielding, and in that moment, the walls shuddered violently, the darkness stirring as if it had a mind of its own, hungry for our fear. Before I could process what had happened, a figure emerged from the crack, a face I recognized but had never seen in person, one that sent chilling warmth coursing through my veins, my mother. Amara, her voice rang out, thin and haunting, yet laced with yearning. You have to choose. The banquet awaits. In that moment, the choice lay heavy upon me, a question of legacy and sacrifice twisted together in a tangle of shadows. As I locked eyes with my mother, the fissure widened, revealing the painful truth that danced just within my reach, ready to implode upon my very being. And the shadows around us glimmered, beckoning, while the past clawed at the present, demanding acknowledgement. Will you embrace your heritage? Her voice echoed, as the world around us threatened to unravel entirely, each second stretching into eternity, leaving me with one fateful decision: surrender to the past, or seize the tremor of light amidst the swirling chaos. Amara. Alaric's voice, hoarse with urgency, broke through once more, desperate and laced with fear. The sound of his concern washed over me, but it felt far away, drowned out by the weight of the shadows softly whispering their promises. Would I heed their call? And as the walls began to collapse once more, I knew I stood on the precipice of discovery, yet below simmered the hidden truths of unending betrayal. The choices I made would change everything, leaving me questioning, what price would I pay to uncover the secrets long buried within my blood? The shadows flickered and danced around us, pulsating with an electric energy that seemed to tease the edge of sanity. I could hear my heart thundering in my chest, an echo of the urgency and uncertainty that filled the chamber. Amara. Alaric's shout lanced through the chaotic blend of emotions wrestling within me. We have to go now. But as his plea echoed in my mind, my gaze was still fixated on the spectral visage of my mother, hovering at the edge of the abyss that had opened like a hungry mouth beneath our feet. Her presence was both soothing and unsettling, a siren call that beckoned me closer, yet wafted through the air like the scent of something sweetly dangerous. Mom. The word slipped from my lips, a fragile thread of hope woven with the weight of despair. My mother's spectral smile flickered, hauntingly beautiful but stricken with sorrow. Is it really you? Amara, there isn't much time. Her voice was soft yet firm, commanding me to break the spell woven by the shadows. You must choose wisely. Your lineage is tied to choices we've made before you. They haunt us, all of us. I felt the weight of her words as they settled like a leaden cloak around my shoulders. Choices. The very foundation of our lives, anchored in decisions that played out like a cruel game of chess, and nostalgia marred by betrayal. I had come seeking answers, hoping to free my family from the shackles of history, yet was I willing to bear the burden of their wrongs? Was I destined to repeat their mistakes? I can't leave you like this. I need to understand. The trembling conviction in my voice surprised me. This was more than just my past, it would shape my future and that of those I held dear. A shudder reverberated through the chamber, cracking the ground beneath my feet. The shadows wrapped tighter around us, reeling me in with magnetic pull, their whispers a chorus of temptation laced with sorrow. You must embrace what you fear, my mother repeated, her form flickering with urgency. The banquet will only reveal truths that have been hidden. You are stronger than you know. Amara. Alaric's pleas cut through the mist, grounding me as he continued to hold my shoulders, his grip a tether to reality. We must go. The darkness is rising. I can't. My determination faltered. The vision of the banquet replayed in my mind, the faces of my ancestors turning against one another, the laughter tainted by treachery. Yet alongside the chaos, there was something else, a promise of strength, of reclaiming what had been lost. Trust her, Amara, Alaric said, stilling the urgency enough to let my decision breathe. This is a chance to rewrite the misdeeds of the past. Our pasts are entwined. Clarity pierced the haze. Our bond had grown from shared trials, and perhaps even flawed histories could be transformed if faced together. I stared into the depths of my mother's gaze, the warm ache of love flooding my heart. What happens if I step forward? If I seek the truth? The shadows swirled and twirled, bending low in reverence, mocking yet inviting. As the past unveils, the choice becomes clear, she replied cryptically, her form shimmering as if caught in a downstream current. Embrace the banquet. Only there will you confront the pain that binds you. In that moment, I made my choice, fueled by desperation and revelations. I would step forward into the swirling darkness, would not allow fear to sway my heart. Yes, I breathed, resolve igniting like a flame. I accept the banquet. Without a warning, the room erupted in an explosion of light, blinding and overwhelming. I felt Alaric's hand slip from my grasp, and I instinctively reached for him, but the energy surged unbearably, pulling me toward the fissure where my mother had appeared. Amara! He hollered, his voice swallowed by the brightness. As I crossed the threshold of the shadows, the world around me pivoted violently. The banquet hall expanded before me, a grand chamber filled with laughter, overlapping melodies, glistening goblets brimming with dark liquid, and figures donning extravagant masks, caricatures of elegance and sophistication that disguised cruelty. My heart raced as I recognized fragments of the past intermingling with the present. Welcome back, dear Amara, a voice called from the shadows, one I had never heard but instantly loathed. A figure stepped forth from the ethereal, a man cloaked in opulence, face obscured by a mask depicting a grinning monster. How fitting that you choose to join us at such an important moment, a pivotal banquet, if you will. The last remnants of your family's legacy. I felt their gazes pin me, each one a reminder of judgment, of history etched into the very fabric of this place. What do you want from me? I demanded, my voice shaking yet defiant. Only what has always belonged to you, he replied smoothly, each syllable weighted with unspoken threat. Every betrayal, every secret, comes with a cost. You have the power to end this cycle or merely become another banquet guest, consumed by the same shadows. The walls shimmered, the laughter fading, and I sensed Alaric's presence fading just beyond my reach, tethered yet out of grasp. Alone in this realm, it became clear, I was at a crossroad, faced with the legacy of blood and betrayal. The whispers intensified around me, a cacophony of voices urging me to join the revelry, to sink into the deception. My heart pounded with the magnitude of the choice that lay ahead. Embrace the truth, the masked figure taunted, leaning closer, its breath chilling. Or choose oblivion. In that moment, realization struck me. Everything I had so carefully walked away from was clawing to reclaim me. I inhaled sharply, knowing this banquet was more than mere history. It was a defining moment, a chance to seize the power buried within and rewrite what had been dictated to me, yet beneath the facade of opulence lurked shadows, whispering darker truths I could not yet understand. The night stretched endlessly before me as I stood on the precipice, adrenaline coursing through my veins, grappling with the weight of all I might uncover, and as the masked figure extended his hand toward me, urging me to join him, a shattering realization struck. To embrace this world of shadows and light, I would have to sacrifice more than I had envisioned. What awaited me at the end was uncertain, the stakes dire, and the echo of betrayal loomed larger than ever before. Alaric! I screamed, his name caught in the wind, my heart racing as the boundaries blurred, both an invitation and a warning resounding through the hall. Are you with me? But the answer hung in the air like a bitter scent, laden with the potential for love, loss, and the ever-hungry shadows that sought to envelop all in their wake. The banquet table stretched endlessly before me, laden with the weight of choices yet to come, glistening with the allure of power tinged with devastating betrayal. As their laughter turned ominous, I braced for the reckoning, knowing there was no turning back. The choice was mine alone to make, and the truth pulsed in the air, dark and deeply entwined with my destiny. The banquet hall was alive with a vibrant chaos, music swirling around me like a thrumming heartbeat. Laughter echoed against the stone walls, yet the sound felt foreign, perverse a cruel mockery of joy. I stood at the threshold, the masked figure before me extending a hand that glinted with festive luster, beckoning me into the depths of my family's treachery and fate. "Join us, Amara," his voice purred, a symphony of seduction laced with danger. "This is your legacy, the banquet awaits." I glanced frantically through the faces of the revelers, searching for Alaric. But the more I sought him, the more the crowd seemed to close around me, faces obscured by masks that danced with elaborate deceit. The weight of expectation settled heavily on my shoulders, anchoring me to this pivotal moment. The whispers of my family's history beckoned me closer. "No!" I shouted, anguish spilling from my heart like spilled wine. "I will not be a pawn in this game." My voice cut through the din like a blade, a cry that reverberated against the music, momentarily shattering the facade of revelry. The masked figure reeled back slightly, the grin frozen upon his painted face, as if my defiance had momentarily breached the spell woven around the hall. "You speak boldly, brave child of lineage stained with shadows," he replied softly, an undercurrent of respect blending with menace. "Yet, do you truly believe you have the power to change the course forged by those before you?" I felt the shadows flit around me, their whispers growing louder, revealing fragments of memories hidden in the layers of time. Images exploded in my mind, a younger version of myself playing under the long, elegant tables of that very hall, my father raising a goblet in a toast that buzzed with laughter. But shadows loomed, always just behind the light, shadows that spoke of poison, ambition, and betrayal. "I have to confront this," I asserted, my heart racing as I forced myself to step closer to the table laden with jeweled goblets. I could feel the darkness creeping along the edges of my consciousness, intertwining with the music, demanding acknowledgement. "I will not flee from what has been done. Not anymore." "Very well," the figure said, his smile painful in its allure, "but remember, confronting truth is a double-edged sword. To uncover the depths of treachery is to recognize that redemption often exacts a heavy toll." A chill crept through me, the weight of his warning hanging heavily in the festival air. But as I looked around, the faces cheering, their mirth eclipsing the danger, an ember of courage flared within me. "What must I do?" The cloaked figure gestured toward a goblet that sparkled with a dark, viscous liquid, the very drink my father once raised, the harbinger of our family's darkest hour. "Drink, and embrace the weight of your ancestry. Only then can the chains binding your family be broken." I hesitated, the enormity of the choice reverberating through me, propelling me to take a step back. But the whispers rose in a violent crescendo, the shadows floodlighting memories of laughter morphing into screams, the banquet immortalizing every betrayal imbued with poison. Suddenly, Alaric broke through the throngs, his eyes wide, filled with desperation as he reached for me. "Amara! Stop!" His voice ignited my resolve, urging me to remember what we shared. "This isn't the way. Together, Alaric." I called back, the fire of rebellion igniting within me. "Together, we can face the truth." In that moment, the room shifted, the shadows swaying with our connection, spiraling toward an energy that tethered our fates together. "Will you share this burden with me?" I asked, the vulnerability in my voice casting away the weight of uncertainty. He nodded, his face a mask of fierce determination. "Always. I won't let you face this alone." Breath steadying, I stepped toward the goblet, my pulse a frantic drumbeat. I raised it to my lips, but I hesitated. "What if it changes us?" I whispered, fear pooling in my chest. "The truth is worth the risk," he replied. "Embrace it." Together, our hands clasped around the goblet, our hearts beating in synchrony as we brought it to our lips. The liquid burned, a bitter caress that washed down my throat, igniting a maelstrom of visions and screams, ghosts of the past flickering before me as history unraveled like tapestry. Memories fought for dominance, twisting and writhing, revealing the tapestry of betrayal that had woven through my family. I saw the legends whispering of pacts made in darkness, promises that spilled blood upon generations. Pride intertwined with shame, and my ancestors danced across the hall, as light twisted with the treachery inherent in every smile and jest shared amidst the feast. Pain overwhelmed me, but Alaric's hand kept mine steady. "Breathe," he urged, grounding me as horror washed over my vision, piercing through the veil of oblivion and illuminating the night with truths I could no longer ignore. "We can rewrite this," I gasped, breathing in the ripples of light igniting within me. I felt the shadows retreat, trembling before the power of our collective acknowledgement. The banquet hall around us began to dissolve, as jubilance turned to despair, faces fading into the shadows that had once clung to my lineage. I realized the power of acceptance would not just empower me, it would free my ancestors too. "Amara." My mother's voice bled through, clearer than before, resonating amidst the crumbling shadows. I could feel her essence, her spirit reborn in the truths I unearthed. I projected that love into the tapestry enveloping us, forcing the darkness to bend under the weight of revelations. And in that moment of recognition, clarity washed over me, forgiveness coursed through my veins like fire reborn from ash. I would honor the wounds of the past, not by surrendering to them, but by claiming the truth that screamed for honor amidst the banquet of betrayal. "Together," I said, my voice ringing stronger than before. "We will not be defined by shadows. We will turn to the light." As the laughter of the banquet dwindled, the masked figure's grin faded, replaced by an expression of fear. "No. You cannot change what has already been set in motion." But the shadows shifted, the light piercing through the tendrils of deception, illuminating everything with clarity. Alaric squeezed my hand, and I felt the weight of familial pain growing lighter as our resolve radiated stronger, coiling warmth through the remnants of the banquet like sunbeams bursting through storm clouds. With a final surge, I called upon the memories of those lost along the way, echoing their stories. For my family. For all who have borne the weight of unspoken truths. A wave of power surged, shattering the chains of deceit that had bound us, and as the banquet dissolved into golden light, I felt the darkness slip away, replaced by an overwhelming embrace of love, forgiveness, and hope. As the world around us began to dissolve, me and Alaric stood hand in hand, breathing in the crisp clarity of a future untainted by our past. The banquet was over, it was replaced by a sacred vow to honor all that had come before while paving the way for something entirely new, and as we stepped out into the soft glow of dawn, I felt the weight of everything that had come before lift, alighting the spark of renewal. In that moment, I knew, we are not bound by our ancestors' choices, but liberated by the power of our own. And it was enough to transform shadows into a tapestry of light.